Welcome home. You're back quite early today. Well, yeah, I bought sushi for all of us to eat. I was surprised just by getting a reply from my husband, who had been ignoring me for over a month. On top of that, he was holding high-quality sushi. Something seemed suspicious. I became more suspicious and secretly swapped my sushi with my mother-in-law's. Oh my, it looks delicious. Let's dig in right away. Come on, eat up. To my surprise, even my mother-in-law started talking to me. There must be something going on. Convinced of this, I pretended to go to the kitchen to make tea, encouraging them to start eating first. Then from behind the door, I watched their reactions. And then, my mother-in-law who ate the sushi started shivering and coughing. Unbelievable words were uttered by them. My name is Susan, 29 years old. I got married to Ryan, whom I met through my father's introduction half a year ago. I grew up with my strict father who hates dishonesty and my gentle yet strong-willed mother. I am, to put it nicely, a serious person, or, to put it badly, someone who can't adjust to the people around me. I have few friends. Even after becoming an adult, I had no romantic experiences. My worried father introduced me to Ryan, who worked at the company where my father was a department head. My father seemed to have high expectations for Ryan. Ryan's first impression was serious and friendly. He listened intently to my father's stories, and also engaged me in conversation, making the atmosphere pleasant. Apparently, Ryan had a good reputation at the company. He was trusted by his superiors and got along well with his colleagues because of his friendly nature. At a drinking party, when my father mentioned he had a daughter, Ryan asked to be introduced, and my father was more than happy to oblige. My father seemed a bit excited, thinking that spring had finally come for his daughter in her late 20s. It was the first time I saw my usually serious and strict father so excited. He must have been worried about my future. I wanted to live up to my father's expectations. I had never met a man who talked to me at my own pace like Ryan. As we talked, I became more and more attracted to him, and after a few dinners together, we started dating. During our relationship, I visited Ryan's family home and met his mother several times. She, like Ryan, was friendly and considerate of my nervousness. I thought, if I could marry into this family. And just when I was thinking that, Ryan proposed and we got married. I was so happy at that time. But half a year after our marriage, I couldn't help but regret it. The topic of living together came up as soon as we got married. My mother-in-law, who lost her husband, seemed to be lonely and appealed to Ryan. At the time, I didn't doubt my mother-in-law and accepted the idea of living together immediately. However, this was the beginning of it all. As soon as we got married, my mother-in-law's attitude changed completely. It was as if her previous behavior was a lie, and she began to see me as an enemy. Susan, why can't you do anything right? Dinner is late and there's so much food. There's no way we can eat all this. Please, think a little. But yesterday you told me to make more dishes. I tried my best to make them for you. What? Are you saying it's my fault? No, I didn't mean that. Anyway, dinner time is at 6 p.m. Please be punctual from now on. You can't even prepare a proper meal. I never thought that someone like you would become my daughter-in-law. This kind of thing happens almost every day. My mother-in-law's demands change constantly, and even if I try to meet them, she complains about something else. It was the same this time. After finishing work and rushing home, I finished preparing dinner at 6 p.m., but my mother-in-law didn't show up at the table until nearly 7 p.m. She complained that the food was cold and that I wasn't considerate enough. Ryan usually comes home late due to overtime and social gatherings. As a result, especially on weekday evenings, I had to endure more attacks from my mother-in-law. In front of Ryan, my mother-in-law would act a little more restrained. However, that doesn't mean she stopped scolding me, and sometimes Ryan would defend me when he saw her behavior. But that was only at first. Gradually, maybe he got tired of it, and one day Ryan said this to me: "Please try to adapt to my mom." I was speechless at his words. "How much more do you want me to do?" I held back the urge to yell out. "I want to adapt to your mother too, but her demands keep changing. Even if I try to adapt, I can't. Just be flexible. You're an adult. You should be able to handle that much." Ryan coldly dismissed me with those words. The friendly and serious Ryan I knew when we first met was nowhere to be found. The situation was getting worse and worse. Ryan started to side with his mother blatantly. He agreed with her complaints and laughed at me. His mother, on the other hand, directed a triumphant smile at me because her son was on her side. My mother-in-law and Ryan treated me like a maid. On weekends, they would go out together, leaving me with the housework, or they would go out to eat together even though I had prepared dinner. There were also times when Ryan brought home takeout just for him and his mother. The only reason I didn't leave their house was that I didn't want to worry my parents. My parents were delighted when I started dating Ryan. At our wedding, my usually serious father cried. I didn't want to disappoint my parents, who had such high hopes for our marriage, and sent me off with their blessings. Besides, if something happened between Ryan and me, it would affect my father's reputation. So even though my mother-in-law mistreated me and my husband didn't stand by me, I decided I had to endure it and keep going. My only comfort was my pet cat, John. When I said I wanted to bring John, who I had bought before getting married, my mother-in-law didn't like the idea, but I insisted. Now I'm really glad I brought him. After getting married, John comforted me countless times. Somehow, I managed to get through each day until one day, it started suddenly. My mother-in-law and husband started to ignore me. I was puzzled by the sudden change with no warning or reason. No matter how much I tried to talk, I was ignored. Asking for a reason or trying to compromise was all in vain. Even when I tried to talk or did housework, I continued to be ignored. Then, 1 month later, Ryan, who usually comes home around 7 p.m. at the earliest, came home unusually early at around 6 p.m. that day. As I thought I would be ignored, I called out to him, "Welcome home. You're back quite early today." "Well, yeah, I bought sushi for all of us to eat." I was surprised just by getting a reply from my husband, who had been ignoring me for over a month. On top of that, he was holding high-quality sushi. Something seemed suspicious. Before I could feel happy about him finally speaking to me and buying sushi, I wondered, what on earth is he up to? As I found my husband's behavior strange. Moreover, Ryan placed my share of the sushi on the table first. For the past few months, there hasn't been a single time when my husband prioritized me over his mother. This is definitely suspicious. As my distrust grew, I secretly swapped my sushi with my mother-in-law's. "Oh my, this looks delicious. Let's dig in. Come on, Susan, eat up quickly." Surprisingly, even my mother-in-law started talking to me. There must be something going on. Convinced of this, I encouraged them to start eating first. "I'll go make some tea. You both go ahead and start eating." "Oh, I feel bad, but you're right. Hot tea is perfect with sushi. We'll start eating, so come back quickly." Pretending to head to the kitchen, I watched them from behind the door. After whispering to each other, my husband and mother-in-law began eating sushi. Then, suddenly, my mother-in-law started shaking and coughing violently. "Water!" Her eyes filled with tears as she struggled to speak. Ryan frantically patted her back. She shot him a sharp look. "You! What's going on? Why is there so much wasabi in my sushi? I told you to be careful not to make a mistake. What is this?" I put down Susan's sushi first. There's no way I made a mistake. But I can't eat this. I wanted to see Susan suffer from eating sushi with wasabi. But now the plan is ruined because of your mistake. What are we going to do?" I couldn't stay silent after hearing their conversation. "What on earth is going on here? A lot of wasabi? Did you try to make me suffer?" Both of them had a "we're busted" look on their faces. However, my mother-in-law quickly changed her expression and sneered. "That's right. We ignored you for a whole month, but you seemed just fine. So, we thought we'd tease you a little." "That's terrible." "What's terrible? You should be grateful just as a useless daughter-in-law to stay in the house." Even as my mother-in-law yelled at me, my husband didn't try to stop her. I couldn't take it anymore. I finally let out the words I'd been holding back. "I'm going back to my parents' house." I gathered my essential belongings and put John into a pet carrier. As I walked to the door with my bags, Ryan finally tried to stop me. "Come on, you're joking, right? This is too much just for a little joke." His unapologetic words only strengthened my resolve. Without a word, and without looking at Ryan's face, I left his parents' house. My mother welcomed me back home. At first, she looked surprised to see me return so suddenly, but she quickly let me in. "If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to, but if you're okay with it, I'm here to listen." I told her everything that had happened since getting married, how my mother-in-law bullied me, how my husband gradually took her side, and how I was treated like a maid. I also told her about a month of being ignored and almost being forced to eat sushi with a huge amount of wasabi. I told her everything, and I apologized for causing trouble after she had happily sent me off to get married. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I just couldn't take it anymore." "It's okay, dear. Your father and I just want you to be happy. We don't want you to be with Ryan if it's causing you so much pain. You've been strong for so long." At my mother's words, the tears I had been holding back began to overflow. My father came home from work and after hearing the situation from my mother, bowed his head to me. "I'm so sorry. It's all because I introduced you to Ryan. I had no idea he was like this." With a pained look on his face, my father made me feel even worse. Then a call came in. It was from Ryan. The phone rang for a while, but I didn't answer it at all. I kept staring at the screen, waiting for the call to end, and finally, it stopped ringing. That's when I noticed a notification from an app. It was the pet monitor app I had installed for John. I had set it to send me a reminder at this time to make sure I didn't forget to refill John's water before going to bed. Curious, I opened the app and pressed the button for live streaming. There, my mother-in-law and husband appeared on screen. What should we do? Susan isn't answering the phone. It's fine, she'll come back eventually. Anyway, what should we do to her next? Ha ha ha. What if she says she wants a divorce? I'll lose my position as the boss's son-in-law. I was able to pass work off to my subordinates because of my position as my boss's son-in-law. I can't afford to lose that now. Boss's son-in-law. Hearing that, I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. My father, who was next to me, felt the same way. He quietly stared at the screen with a look of disbelief, his hands trembling. I immediately sent a message saying, "Let's get a divorce." Several calls came in right after, but I ignored them and went to sleep. That Saturday morning, the doorbell rang early. Oh my, who could it be this early in the morning? I heard my father's voice from the entrance. Following her voice, I heard the voice that had been irritating me. Please let me talk to Susan. She's misunderstanding a lot of things. It was Ryan. Since I didn't answer his calls, he came all the way to my house. Not wanting to cause my mother any more trouble, I went to the front door. I sent a sharp glare at my husband and spoke coldly. What do you want? Susan, why didn't you answer the phone? I was worried about you. Worried? You teamed up with your mother to make fun of me, ignored me for a month, and then tried to make me eat sushi with a huge amount of wasabi? That was... At my accusation, Ryan was at a loss for words. I started to close the front door on him. I'll bring the divorce papers as soon as they're ready. I have nothing more to say to you, so please leave now. Wait, are you serious? You've never been in a relationship with anyone else, right? If we get divorced, you'll never be able to marry again. Are you okay with being alone for the rest of your life? Ryan's words only fueled my anger. I played the recording of the pet monitor footage I had saved last night. My husband, Ryan, was clearly upset after seeing the video. I said to him, "You don't want to divorce just to protect your own position, right? You don't even think of me as your wife. I'd rather be single than be with someone who doesn't care about me and abuses their power to oppress others." I showed a determined attitude. My mother nodded firmly at me, and then I heard my father's voice from behind. "She's right, Ryan. After seeing that video with my daughter, I asked around at the company. It seems you were using your position as my son-in-law to not only push work onto your subordinates, but also make them do unnecessary chores, acting like a king. I guess I still have a lot to learn about judging people." "Please wait, father-in-law. This is not what it looks like. It's my mother. Yes, it's all my mother's orders. She told me to harass Susan and use my position as your son-in-law to push work onto others." So you really were pushing work onto others? I was not only angry, but also appalled that Ryan was trying to blame his mother for everything and exposing his own wrongdoings. Ryan looked at me with pleading eyes, but I exaggeratedly turned my head away. At that moment, I heard another annoying voice. "Ryan, I came to help you." It seemed that my mother-in-law had come to help Ryan, but by that time, Ryan had already betrayed his mother. He pointed at her and said, "It's all her doing." My mother-in-law looked confused. "What do you mean, Ryan? I came here to be on your side. Are you trying to make me the bad guy?" "You are the bad guy. It's all your fault, Mom. If you hadn't harassed Susan, none of this would have happened. We wouldn't be talking about divorce, and I wouldn't be worried about losing my position. Don't blame me. It's all your fault for trying to get rid of me." Both of them kept blaming each other, and my father, my mother, and I had no choice but to watch in astonishment. Their argument didn't seem to end anytime soon. My father, tired of it all, sighed and spoke up. "You two can argue about this at home. I'm disappointed to find out that you, Ryan, are such a despicable person. There was talk of promoting you, but I'm going to cancel that." "What?" Ryan looked at my father with desperate eyes, but my father didn't change his attitude. And then, our divorce was officially decided on the spot. We printed the divorce papers at home and signed them right away. Ryan's misdeeds at work and his divorce from me, the boss's daughter, became well known, and he felt so uncomfortable that he offered to resign. He's been trying to find a new job, but the rumors have spread to other companies in the same industry, and he hasn't been hired. He's trying to switch to a different industry, but it's not going well. After fighting with his mother over this incident, Ryan left his parents' home and started living alone. But he has no money and is living in a shabby apartment. He's doing day labor jobs to get by, barely making it through each day. His mother, who used to dote on him, is now living alone and feeling lonely. The neighbors found out about her mistreatment of her daughter-in-law, and she's living a life without conversation, receiving cold stares. I'm living with my parents again, just the three of us. Now that the burden from my ex-mother-in-law and Ryan is gone, I can focus on my work better than ever before, and I've been given bigger responsibilities. 1 year after the divorce, I see signs of a new spring coming in my life. The person is a junior colleague with whom I successfully completed a project. Since joining the company, we've worked together many times and built a trusting relationship. Until recently, we only talked about work, but lately, I've been invited to meals, and the other day, he asked me out. This time, I want to build a happy family, and I believe that with him, my wish will come true.
Idiots who can't speak aren't family. We're giving her to the hag. Get out. What on earth are you doing? I pushed past my defiant son and his wife, protectively hugging my granddaughter, who was clutching her cheek in pain, glaring at them. The unrepentant couple continued to belittle their mute daughter. Unable to stand it anymore, I decided to raise my granddaughter myself and took her home. 10 years later, when we returned to our home country from overseas, my son and his wife showed up. We missed you. We're family, aren't we? Let's live together. Idiots aren't family. Please go back. My name is Margaret Patterson, a 60-year-old housewife. A few years ago, I lost my husband, and I've been living alone in a large house. I considered living with my son, Jack, and his wife, Mary, but I decided it would be better to live separately. For some reason, I just couldn't get along with my own child and his wife. Besides, I might end up helping out in the bar they run. My body isn't as agile as it used to be, and embarrassingly enough, I'm not good at customer service. If we were to live and work together, it would probably stress us both out. So I decided not to live together. Even after my husband passed away and I started living alone, Jack never suggested we live together. I appreciated that. I was finally free from child rearing and caring for my husband, so I decided to enjoy my time alone. But once I started living alone, it was lonelier than I had thought. I didn't have any hobbies or friends, as I had spent all my time on housework, child rearing, and caregiving. I spent every day watching reruns of TV dramas to pass the time. Even when I tried to establish new habits, they didn't last long. For me, living such a boring daily life, the presence of my 2 granddaughters was very significant. Emily, the eldest, is 10 years old, and the second daughter, Lily, is 6 years old. They're both very cute girls. Emily is beautiful and good at acting like an adult. On the other hand, Lily is a bit clumsy and quiet. She's often compared to her beautiful and mature older sister, and she feels lonely. I love both of them, but I was particularly on Lily's side. I could see that she seemed to be disliked by both her parents and Emily. My son and his wife, Jack and Mary, would bring my granddaughters to visit about once every 2 months. Grandma! Emily would run to me with an innocent smile. Her clothes were always new, and her long hair was always adorably done up. On the other hand, Lily's clothes were always Emily's worn-out hand-me-downs. Her hair was also left untamed and messy. Lily loved to talk and was chatty since she started to speak. But recently, she became quieter, and unlike Emily's bright smile, Lily often looked down with a gloomy face. After greeting Emily with a "nice to see you," I crouched down in front of Lily and spoke to her. Lily dear, welcome. Thank you for coming. I prepared some of your favorite sweets today. Let's eat together.
Grandma, what about my sweets?
Of course, I have yours too. Let's go. As I held hands with the girls, Jack and Mary got out of the car and called out to me.
Hey Mom, long time no see. Here's a souvenir.
Oh, thank you. Have you two been well? Please, make yourselves at home. Thank you, Mother-in-law. I welcomed my son and my daughter-in-law and granddaughters into my house, served them tea and sweets, and entertained them. Jack and Mary would talk only with Emily and not pay any attention to Lily. Whenever I tried to speak to Lily, Emily would interrupt, or Jack and Mary would start a different topic. I was concerned about their attitude towards Lily, but I thought it best not to interfere too much and just kept an eye on them. However, I would later regret this approach.
One day, I had plans to visit Jack and Mary's house and brought along some sweets that they and the girls liked. Upon arriving at their house, I reached out to ring the doorbell. Just then, I heard Jack yelling something from inside the house. "Why don't you say something instead of just being quiet?" I was shocked. As I reached for the front door, it opened easily. Without hesitation, I removed my shoes, and as I walked down the hallway, I could hear the voices coming from upstairs.
You know it's because you don't talk at school that I'm being embarrassed, right?
As I climbed the stairs, the shouting continued, followed by a sharp, dry sound. Upon opening the door from where the sound came, I found Jack and Mary scolding Lily, who was sitting on the floor, while Emily was waving her hand as if in pain. Lily was about to cry and holding her cheek, and Emily seemed to be in pain, waving her hand around. "Hey, Lily, you got smacked by your sister, didn't you? How about saying it hurts? If you can't speak, you're no longer family. Get out. We'll send you to Hag's home." What the hell are you guys doing? I brushed aside my son and his wife and Emily, hugged Lily, who was sitting on the floor to protect her, and glared at them. The three of them were momentarily surprised, but quickly regained their composure. "Mom, what are you doing barging in like that? You should have rang the doorbell first."
That's right, Margaret. Aren't you rude?
What's rude is what you guys are doing. Surrounding and berating a little girl? Jack, aren't you a father? Aren't you ashamed to mistreat your child? And Emily, why did you hit your sister? For the first time, I scolded Emily loudly. She seemed scared for a moment, but lowered her head and said, "'Cause..." Mary pulled Emily towards her, hugged her, and glared at me.
"Please don't blame Emily."
I glared back without backing down. Protecting Emily, who hit her sister, is not the right response for a mother. Jack, who was watching, pointed at me and yelled, "Mom, what are you thinking? Get away from that idiot." The idiots are you guys. Apologize to Lily. Huh? Who's going to apologize? Neither Jack, Mary, nor Emily seemed to show any remorse and relentlessly insulted Lily. Lily, who was in my arms, was grabbing my clothes weakly with a vacant look on her face. Had they been doing this to her all along? Before I could think, I lifted Lily and declared, "I will take care of Lily. I can't leave her here." Leaving the three stunned people behind, I stormed out of the room. After standing still for a while, Jack came running up with a smirk on his face. "Thanks, Mom. I didn't know how to handle this mute." As I was stunned by my son's words, Mary appeared from behind. She was holding a tattered little carry-on bag and a backpack.
"This is Lily's stuff. Please take care of the rest,"
Mary said, passing the bags roughly to me. Both Lily and I were speechless, looking up at the faces of my son and my daughter-in-law. They were clearly pleased that Lily was leaving their home. Astonished, I left their house without saying a word. In silence, I returned home and took off Lily's shoes at the entrance. Then she sniffled. Looking at Lily's face, I saw her biting her lip with tears streaming down. I hugged Lily, gently patting her on the back. "Lily, it's been hard on you. I'm sorry I couldn't help you until now. But it's going to be okay. Grandma's on your side now. I will protect you." From that day, Lily and I started living together. Because of the hurt she'd experienced from her parents, she stopped speaking. Even a simple good morning seemed impossible for her to vocalize. Her teacher told me that she had been unable to communicate with her classmates or teachers at school. Worried, I took her to the hospital for a medical checkup. Lily was diagnosed with selective mutism. The doctor speculated that the extreme stress she had suffered from her parents and sister had caused severe anxiety and fear, making her unable to speak even if she tried. The doctor reassured me that as she got used to her new environment, she would gradually be able to speak again. On the way home from the hospital, I bought Lily a cute notebook and a pen. Listen, Lily, if you have something you want to tell me or anyone else, write it in this notebook. Draw pictures or write words. Then try to voice the words you wrote, even just a little at a time, okay? Lily quickly opens the notebook and began writing with the pen. As I silently watched, she showed me the page she had been writing on. On it were the words, "Thank you, Grandma," along with a sketch of my face. Lily opened her mouth and tried to say, "the," but she couldn't get the words out and looked down, disappointed. "Lily, you're doing great. Keep it up one step at a time. Well done. Gold star for you." As I patted her head, Lily looked up and managed a faint smile. She started using the notebook and pen I bought for her to communicate at school. I guess she's gaining confidence. She gradually learned to speak, and 2 years later, she could speak normally.
Grandma, today at school.
The moment Lily returned home, she'd report to me about the happenings at school. Seeing how she'd fully recovered and was brimming with life put my mind at ease. Then one day, I visited the school for a 3-way conference. Upon entering the classroom, a kind-looking teacher greeted us. Both Lily and I responded with a "Hello, teacher," and took our seats. As I discussed Lily's behavior at school and at home, she shyly squirmed in her seat. "Lily's grades have been consistently improving since last year. Take a look at this," the teacher said, showing us her report card. The chart indicated a steady upward trend since she began living with me and had shot up significantly recently. I'm sure it's because she's so dedicated to studying. She's been reading difficult books and solving complex problems almost every day, I explained, patting Lily's head. Ever since she learned to speak, she'd been passionate about studying. At home, she'd delve into complex books and study, and on test day, she'd present me with perfect scores. I framed and hung all her perfect test papers, looking at them with a sense of pride. I see. In that case, how about taking an IQ test at the hospital? Suggested the teacher. IQ test? When I asked for clarification, the teacher explained, Lily might be gifted. Gifted refers to children who are naturally very intelligent. Lily seemed to be just as smart, if not more so, than an adult. The teacher suggested that it might be worth getting an IQ test done so that we could provide an educational environment suitable for her exceptional talents. So I immediately took Lily to the hospital for an IQ test. As the teacher had suspected, Lily was indeed gifted. I was amazed to find out that Lily had such an amazing ability. When I asked her, "How did you find the studies in elementary school? Is it fun?" she responded with a bored expression.
Well, to be honest, it's too easy and I find it boring. I want to study something more challenging, but if I tell the teacher, they get confused.
Hearing her words, I started to ponder. I wondered if Lily could pursue the kind of studies she wished for in America. The studies that Lily desires are probably at a middle school or high school level. I wondered if Lily, who has not yet graduated from elementary school, could handle this. I consulted with her homeroom teacher. The teacher then told me about the grade skipping system in the US. The teacher suggested that if Lily went to America, she could pursue the study she desired. It reminded me that my late husband's brother was working in America. I hadn't been in touch with him since my husband passed away, but he might be able to help. As soon as I reached out and consulted with him, he said he would support our life in the US. Relieved, I suggested to Lily the idea of studying abroad in America.
I want to go if it's with Grandma, but I want to graduate from elementary school with my friends first.
All right, I understand. I'll also learn English by the time you graduate. At that response, Lily smiled relieved. She made many memories in elementary school and graduated without any issues. Since we exchanged contact information, she can communicate with her friends even overseas. I decided not to mention the study abroad plan to Jack and Mary. I thought they might try to take her back if they found out Lily was gifted in order to use her. Lily quickly adjusted to life in the US and studied by skipping grades. I supported her with all my might. When I saw Lily saying,
"Studying is more fun than before,"
I truly felt glad that we came to the US. Her talent is truly incredible. After a few years of studying in the US, she enrolled in Harvard University, studied business, and before I knew it, she had started her own company. "I want to repay my grandma," Lily said enthusiastically. "For me, she's already repaid me enough." After all, Lily has grown up and become a wonderful adult. Her achievements were featured on American news, spread worldwide, and she became a celebrity. In all likelihood, Lily's name is known in the worldwide as well. I wonder what Jack and Mary think of her achievements. I would be happy if they regret how they've treated her. 10 years after Lily started her company, for work reasons, Lily and I returned back to our country. We rented a new apartment, and while we were living there, the doorbell rang. I thought it might be a circulated notice, and without any suspicion, I opened the door. "It's been a while, Mom. Have you been doing well?" "Jack, and Mary too, why are you here?" Upon seeing the two faces, I couldn't help but shudder. I had changed my contact information and was living far away from the house I had lived in before. How did they find me here? Ignoring my surprise, Mary called out into the house. "Hey, Lily, you're here, right? It's your mom. I've come to see you after such a long time." "What do you want? Please don't approach my daughter." "Don't be cold, Mom. We are Lily's parents after all." "That's right, mother-in-law. Lily is here, right? Please let us meet her." "Wait, don't just barge in like that." Without giving me a chance to stop them, the two of them pushed past me and entered the house. As I was trying to stop them, Lily peeked out from the living room. "What's wrong, Grandma?" "Wait, what?" Lily, too, seemed surprised by the sudden visitors. I awkwardly turned my face away. On the other hand, my son and his wife seemed delighted to finally see Lily. "Oh, Lily, I've missed you. You've grown so much." As Mary reached out to hug her, Lily brushed off her arms. "If you want to talk, I'll listen in the living room. I'll prepare some tea, so please wait on the sofa." With a cold statement, Lily began preparing tea in the kitchen. Jack and Mary unreservedly plopped themselves down on the sofa and started reminiscing with her one-sidedly. Growing concerned, I called out to Lily. She winked at me, signaling to leave it to her. When I sat down opposite them, I was immediately confronted with the main issue. The pub my son and his wife were running had gone out of business due to poor management. Their older daughter Emily had also gone off the grid since she started working, and they had no idea what she was doing or where she was now. Jack and Mary, having lost their jobs, were currently living in poverty and had no idea when they would run out of savings. "Hey, Lily, would you consider supporting us? You ran away from home at 6, but until then, we raised you. You should pay your respects." "Lily, you must have felt lonely not being able to see us all this time, right? But let's live together from now on. Let's create memories as a family, making up for the time we were apart." I couldn't stand to watch my son and his wife pathetically pleading with Lily. While it pains me to say this about my own son, I just can't understand how he turned out this way. Where did I go wrong in raising him? Lost in my own guilt, I was snapped back to reality by Lily's voice. "Idiots aren't my family. My only family is Grandma. Please see yourselves out." She wore a cool smile I had never seen before. "But Lily..." "Wait, please." Regardless of their pleas to live together, Lily didn't budge. She forcefully pushed them out the front door, locking it with a definitive click. Looking out the window, I could see my son and my daughter-in-law slinking away with slumped shoulders. "Grandma..." "What is it, dear?" "Should we move?" With those words, she laughed. She apparently had been secretly planning to build a house for us to live in together. She designed it with accessibility in mind for my sake. "Thank you, Lily." As I thanked her, she blushed and gave an embarrassed laugh. Several months later, we moved into our new home. Thanks to the accessible features Lily planned, I'm living comfortably. Our shared memories are framed and displayed on the walls. Even the notebook and pen we bought when we first started living together are there. Every time I see them, I'm moved to tears. Today, I think I'll make Lily's favorite dish for her. With that thought, I headed to the kitchen to start cooking.